The mother of missing little boy Quinton Simon is the prime suspect in his disappearance. He was reported missing on October 5th, almost a month ago, and the authorities believe that little Quinton is dead, and he's lying in a garbage pile in a landfill in Georgia, while his mom, Leilani Simon, parties it up with her mom, Billie Jo Howell. Leilani recently gave an exclusive interview and, in my opinion, was an audition of a lifetime. And her mother, Billie Jo Howell, was standing beside her chiming in. There was a little bit of deja vu going on, I gotta say, while I watched, and it reminded me of some past suspects. So today we're gonna dive into the interview. We're gonna talk about what Leilani says and what she doesn't say, and a little bit about a pattern that I detected. And we're going to talk about not only her behavior, but also her mother's and how they're reminiscent of previous cases. So now, let's get into it. Leilani and her mom, Billie Jo, have all kinds of red flags in their exclusive interview. Although it's short, it is chock full of interesting wording and behavior. The interview seems to borrow from previous suspects we've seen before. See if you can guess who they may be, and we can discuss it. Also, it seems that Leilani is putting the blame on somebody else, even though it was not mentioned in this interview. Now, before I get into the interview, let's just set the scene by giving some insights from the timeline. On October 5th at 5:30 a.m., the babysitter receives a text that she doesn't need to babysit that day. But she says it's weird because she normally watches Quinton even if Leilani is home. At 6 o'clock, Quinton is reportedly last seen in a playpen, and other reports suggest that Quinton may have wandered off. And it was also suggested that the front door to the home was found open and that Leilani told 911 that she thinks someone came in and took him. It's also said that Leilani's boyfriend left the home to go to work at around that 6 o'clock mark. At 9 o'clock, the babysitter gets another text wondering if she has seen Quinton. She says she immediately went to the house to help search, and the babysitter also said that the family didn't want her to help. At 9:42, Leilani reports Quinton missing. Those who are part of this case have some very colorful backgrounds. We have Leilani, who's gotten in trouble with the law. We have Billie Jo, who's also got in trouble with the law, and we have one of Leilani's brothers that is in jail for manslaughter. So there is some very interesting history behind that. I've followed this case from behind the scenes, but I'm now ready to do a little deep dive now that I have a little more time to contribute. So let's get into the interview, and after I'll show you one of Leilani's interesting patterns. And if you're new here, I like to see patterns in cases and people have patterns. Let's get into the interview, and I'll play it in pieces. That's how they did it on the news. It wasn't one full thing like we've seen Letitia Stauch. And we can discuss each section and part as we go along. As you watch, jot down in the comments who you think it reminds you of. And side note, the behavior analysts, I'm sure, had a field day on this one. Here's your first clip.
My kids woke up to me screaming, "Where's Quinton?" and running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, just started screaming for help.
So there's over a 3.5-hour gap here from when the babysitter was told she's not needed anymore for babysitting that day to when Leilani woke up screaming.
I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station. And I will walk with her.
Well, Leilani is certainly not hiding. She was seen partying it up the very same day the FBI were searching the landfill for little Quinton's dead body. And they said that they have evidence that he is no longer alive. But notice, I'm going to play the clip again. Notice how she looks right in the camera when she says, "I'm not running and I'm not hiding."
I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding.
And there's another oddity. Right after Leilani says, if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station. There's a pause, and Billie says, "and I will walk with her."
And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station. And I will walk with her.
It feels odd, doesn't it? And the wording of "if something does come up that I'm at fault." I wish the reporter would have asked, like what? can you please elaborate on that? Just to see what she says. Let me know below what you'd like to ask in that moment. Let's go to the next clip.
All we want is justice for Quinton Simon.
That's it.
We want justice for
too.
Quinton.
At
We
whatever
want
cost it
answers.
is. We don't care the cost.
We want answers just like everybody else does. At the end of it all, we love you, baby Q. My little monkey, and we want him home.
Now, if you're a mom out there, chime in on this one. There's no, we want justice for my baby, my little Quinton, but we want justice for Quinton Simon. It feels to me there like there's a disconnect, and then they start talking over one another, which was interesting. We saw this in the West case in Jacqueline and Trezell West's interview, and they were helping each other out and echoing each other. And here we have this as well. It does remind me of the West case. And Leilani reminds me of Megan Boswell. Next clip.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening. If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
Now, the line of, if that's even understandable, is odd to me. Why wouldn't it be? And then your baby is dead, but you're saying you have less tears. But I guess we saw that when she was partying, so I guess that's par for the course. Now, she also says you wake up every day angry, hoping that you're gonna get a call, and that phone call just doesn't come. So it translates to you're angry because you're hoping you're gonna get a phone call. You see what I'm saying? This, to me, there's two different thoughts going on. One, she's thinking about one thing while spewing out another thing. That's my opinion. That also happens with Billy. And speaking of Billy, let's go to her clip.
Great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found
Happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they are hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
This is a giant word salad. I could hardly believe that she's saying she wants something great to come out of this. Like what? And remember how I said there's two different trains of thought going on with each of them? Well, she said, but mostly we want him not to be found. And then she finishes it with, in the landfill. And she corrects herself, probably or maybe realizing what she's saying, and she says, we want him found. Now, Leilani pipes in right away and says, happy and alive, to finish her sentence.
great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found
happy and alive.
What case reminds you of this? Here it reminds me of the West case again, where Trezell wanted to go knock on the doors of places, even though he wasn't looking in the initial search. But in the interview, all of a sudden he wanted to do it. It's almost like the same word salad. And then there's the odd options of, maybe that they're with somebody who wants a baby or couldn't have a baby, and that he was their savior. This is the weirdest line. She says, that's their best hopes at this point. Super odd.
That's their best hopes at this point.
Right? Also, the reporter said that they're getting all their updates and info from the news. They'd know then that the FBI were looking in the dumpster and that he's dead. So why are they talking about, maybe he's with a couple? Although, there's hope, but this whole thing to me is very odd in the wording when you break it down. Let's go to the next clip.
It makes it hard to even process what's going on around us. If we get to the point that we have to barricade our own home in order to feel safe in our backyard, because we can't even process what's happening everywhere else, or even have the time to do so. I can't even walk out and appreciate my own son's memorial or put down the gifts that I got for him. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's just devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts.
She says here, because we can't even process what's happening everywhere else or even have the time to do so, because she's worried about people barricading her home. Okay, but speaking of backyard, the night after that Quinton was reported missing, Quinton's biological father came to the home. And he said there was a party in the backyard. He said every one of them was high as a kite and drunk as hell. Leilani was on something. She wasn't crying when I walked up. She was laughing and having a good time with everybody. It looked like a party. She didn't have anything to say to me. All she said was she was sorry and that she didn't know what happened to him. That's all she does is lies. Let's go to the next clip.
We're in limbo. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. Being in this house is hard. My mother and I can't even stay inside throughout the day. We always are outside because there's just so many memories that we don't know if we're going to have again.
Now here's more word salad again. When you break this down, this does not make sense. We always are outside because there's so many memories that we don't know if we're gonna have again. And Leilani's actually blaming it on the baby daddy, according to reports, which is gonna be interesting once Quinton is found, because if they end up charging her, she'll be slapped with a false report, just like Megan Boswell. Megan Boswell gave numerous reports because she was lying through her teeth constantly, and she had quite a few slapped on her. Now, Leilani has an interesting pattern to her. How she talks for the most part is with her teeth apart, like normal people do. But what's different is there's parts in this interview where she grits her teeth and she starts talking like that. And I wanted to see the points where she was doing that, what she was actually saying, and it's really interesting. I'll give you a clip first of her normal speak as an example.
We're hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior.
And here's a little example of where she grits her teeth.
We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and we're hoping that,
Now here's what she says when she grits her teeth. There's so many memories. I just started screaming for help. If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry. She's talking about that phone call doesn't come. So she says, you wake up every day angry, hoping for the phone call that doesn't come. We're hoping he's in somebody's house. We're sitting every day waiting for answers. And there's also the word negligence when she's talking about being harassed. It's interesting. Let's play the clips together.
If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's just devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. We always are outside because there's just so many memories that we don't know if we're going to have again.
These are, in my opinion, when she's not truthful. For example, you'll see her talking about she's hoping that he's in somebody's house, but she's gritting her teeth through it, and then she just relaxes and opens her mouth and says, I have an idea. Maybe it's somebody who wants a baby. And we heard that even from Megan Boswell. Again, it is eerie to watch this because these patterns are coming up. Do you see anything else in these clips? Let me know below. You can check out my videos on the case here, or you can check out my videos on behavior of suspects right here. The one about Trezell and Jacqueline is particularly illuminating. Be sure to check back for new videos. I upload every single week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.